All right, hey everybody, this is Chad Jordan. I'm the Director of Marketing for Digital Services at Sport Clips Haircuts. This is another edition of our Hall of Fame podcast. Super stoked today. I'm in a beautiful Southern California, and I'm with one of my favorite people, and I'm going to let her go ahead and introduce herself.
Good afternoon. This is Frankie Delgado. I am from Southern California, born and raised. I am currently in San Diego, California. I am an area coach, and I am also part of the Sport Clips National Artistic Team.
She's not just part of it. She's like one of the baddest members of it. So everybody knows who Frankie is. She's super popular. And like I already said, she's one of my favorites. And last year, I was at the coaches' huddle just randomly. I think it was also TLTC2 or something. And I was there the day that they announced the new artistic team members. And I feel like, because I think I was presenting at the time in the room next door to whatever insanity was going on with you guys. And I can still feel the earth shake when you guys all found out who was going to be on the artistic team and the celebration and just the energy in that room. Can you describe, kind of take me back to when you got named to the artistic team and what emotions were going through your head at the time?
So they actually made us wait to the very last minute. Oh. So right before we were going to take off, nobody knew when they were going to announce it. So nobody knew who tried out. So right when they announced it, I was really, really nervous. And they pretty much just put our pictures up there. And then,
that's how they announced it?
Yeah, and then they announced our names afterwards. So I got...
What, did they put all the candidates' pictures up there, or just the people that had gotten added?
So they put all three of us that got added at that time.
Who else was added when you got
So we had Brittany Burton, and then we also had Tiffany Allen.
Okay. Yeah. And then what? It's just a massive...
So then we get to
party.
Go up there.
Do you have to cut hair like in front of everybody? No. Like you have a little routine that you had practiced just in case?
No, I didn't even know what to do. I actually looked back on it because my team, they recorded it, and it was basically just hugs to the senior members of the team, and a lot of them I've already known, so it was really cool to be up there with them. But I went back and I looked at it, and it was funny because I passed up Julie Vargas, and she's one of my mentors, one of my favorites. And if I think back, I'm like, man, I should have hugged her first.
She probably deserved, but in the euphoria of it all, right. I mean, you kind of blacked out, right?
Exactly.
It was just an out of body experience for you. So now you're on the artistic team. Tell me, give me some highlights. What are the best parts of it?
So my first show ever, probably a month after, in January, after I get on the team, we had one training. We go to Caper, Paul Mitchell Caper.
That's Florida, or where was it?
It was actually at Disneyland.
Yeah.
It was at Disneyland.
Oh, okay, here.
Yeah, so it was in Anaheim, California. It was my first show. And just interacting with all those students and seeing how hyped up they are to meet you. I'm a regular person. I get up every day and just do
right.
regular stuff. I'm not anybody, But just seeing how pumped up they were to meet me and talk to me and pick my brain, that fuels me. And I would say that's the highlight is the students and watching them get that aha moment, or just you talking to them for 5 minutes, how it just brightens up their day. It was that. Caper was most definitely, and it was with the whole team. So it was one of the times I got to perform with the senior artistic team members.
So everybody was there.
Everybody was there. It was awesome. And then we did the Dallas Gala for the Mansfields, and that was cool.
Right before huddle, right?
Right before huddle.
Yeah.
But while I was in Dallas, Julie informs me that BarberCon has invited us to come over, and for the first time ever, we have a classroom.
And this is what, New York City?
It's New York City. We're in New York City. We're in Queens, and it's a big deal for us to be invited to something like that. And I remember getting up.
But those are your peeps. I mean,
those are my peeps.
Yeah, exactly.
But sometimes the view of Sport Clips, because people are not aware of what we do and who we are, is a little different. So my goal was to change the perception of people.
Nice.
So I remember we had a one spot. We had several spots on stage throughout the weekend, but the first spot we had is we kind of was where we were able to go up there and introduce ourselves. And I remember the first thing that I said was that I really wanted to see us uplifting each other and supporting each other, and I wanted to bridge that gap between stylists and barbers, and I really wanted to see us supporting each other as an industry, because if we can do that, we can grow and we can just do so many cool things. So
how did that go over when you said it?
you know what, we were actually welcomed with like arms wide open from DL the barber, from just a lot of people didn't know what we did, you know? So that was our chance to show them. We had a classroom, and I remember us, like, it was me, Aaron, Crystal, and Julian, the famous Julian. So we're up there presenting with him, and we're thinking, is anybody going to come to our classroom? You know, who cares? Even if they don't, at least we're here.
Yeah.
We had a great showing. People were coming to our booth, taking pictures. People showed up to our classroom. So for me, that was not only one of the highlights of being part of the artistic team, but one of the highlights of my career as a whole. It was just a great experience. And I mean, there's nothing like it.
And you know that one of the things that I'm obsessed with is finding out someone's journey, the beginning, middle, not the end, but the now of their story. So take me back, if you don't mind. Take me back. Let's just get to the beginning. Like where did you get your start? How did all that start to happen for you?
Well, you know, I was a teenager in the late 90s. So there was a lot of
when I was graduating college. Thank you so much for reminding me that. All
Sorry.
right, okay. Uh-huh.
There was just a lot of people cutting their own hair, a lot of people experimenting with haircuts, and I started off with my brothers first, kind of giving them that like step cut, no blend. I remember my parents taking them to get flat tops, you know, early days, barbershop. So I've kind of been around the barbershop for most of my life. I was kind of going from job to job. It was kind of like meaningless work. It wasn't really fulfilling for me. And I just started cutting hair. I started cutting my own hair. So my hair went short when I was about 18. My mom kind of flipped out, but, you know, she got over it. So I started off cutting my own hair. And like I said, I was going from job to job, wasn't really fulfilled. And one day it kind of clicked for me, like, hey, I can do this naturally. I have a passion for it. I can get paid for it.
Yeah.
So it literally
Everything
one day
clicked.
it just clicked for me. So I went to the barber college in Anaheim, California. I applied. You know, I was waiting for my financial aid to go through, and from there it just kind of.
So because of your experience, you had been cutting mostly guys' hair.
Right.
So the barber route, that's kind of where you were heading. You didn't want to do full service.
I dabbled with my mom, and they'll probably laugh if they hear this, and my grandma. I grew up like dyeing their hair, but like, you know, with the bottle. Yeah. So it was always a thing for me. Like my mom
Don't be
would
giving away their secrets now for everybody to listen to. That's her natural hair color.
My
Come
mom
on, Frankie.
and my grandma would always, you know, have me dye their hair. So it was just like something that we did as a family naturally. It's pretty cool.
So this is now. So we're still in the late 90s. When you finished Bart, when did you finish school?
I think it was 2010.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So you just kind of did side stuff all the while.
Yeah,
so it clicked for you.
Actually, right out of high school, well, I got my GED, and then I got into a scholarship program. I went to EMT school.
What?
Yeah, I went to EMT school.
Lifesaver.
I got halfway through. Once I started realizing like what the job was, meaning like one day we went from being where babies were born, and then the next moment we were like downstairs in the morgue. And for me, I'm a very like sensitive, emotional person.
There's a lot of highs and lows in that job.
And we started going on ride-alongs with the Compton Fire Department, and it was really, really hard for me to separate myself. Like, you know, when you see older people, I would think of my grandmother.
Right.
You know, young guys, I would think of my brothers. So for me, it was really hard for me to separate myself. So I realized that probably wasn't the job for me.
Yeah.
Still like, okay, no, this is not for me either.
So was struggle's probably not the right word, but I mean, you were kind of navigating your way through those early years of your career, trying to find your purpose, right? Trying to find your center, like what is going to make you feel fulfilled, trying to find your passion, I guess. So when it all clicks, and then after the massage stuff, is that when barber school starts?
No,
or?
it was still probably another like 5-6 years.
And is if somebody finally just says, hey, maybe you should do this, or did it just?
It was actually my mom.
Okay.
Me and my mom are really, really close. I grew up in Buena Park, California. I had a really good life. We lived in a pretty suburban neighborhood. But I just grew up really, really close to my mom.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom has always encouraged me to do whatever I wanted, regardless of what it was. And she saw that I had a passion for it, and she was like, you can get paid for it. So at that time, I went back home, and I was living back with my mom. So my mom really encouraged me to get out there and do something and just try it out. I mean, she was like, you never know. It could be, the best choice of your life. And she ended up being right.
Was there a comfort level for you because you had already for years been cutting hair when you walked into barber school, like, I can do this? Or were there still some butterflies and some nerves thinking, what if I don't like this?
I felt at home.
Okay.
When I walked in there, I was like, okay,
that's where I belong.
This feels good.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I belong here. And yeah, as soon as I went in there, I went to the Real Barbers College of Anaheim. The owner, Mr. Augie, rest in peace, he died several years ago. He was actually in the Navy, and he cut hair on a Navy ship for many, many, many years.
Wow.
So I happened to walk into the right place, and immediately it clicked for me.
Then how do you transition? Let's introduce Sport Clips into this. Where does that start to come into the picture?
At this point, I had bills to pay, so my partner was like, "Hey, there's Sport Clips," and I was like, "Sport Clips, hey?"
Okay.
In school, they talk about franchises, they talk about booth rental, they talk about this, and being a barber, it really wasn't an option that they put out there for us.
Mm-hmm.
Barbering's a pretty traditional craft, and they have, not rules, but there's a culture to it. So the way that they explained it to us, it was like, you don't want to go to Sport Clips.
Yeah.
But I saw my partner and her being able to, be a single mom and make money and provide for her family and have a flexible schedule and whatnot. It took a little bit of convincing. Well, it was more like, you're going to do this.
Yeah, right.
So
it made too much sense not to give it a try.
Right. Because I struggled. I went back and forth, worked at the barbershop. It wasn't working out. So she got me an interview. She came home one day and she was like, I got you an interview for Cypress 505. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay. Got to the interview. I was hired on the spot.
When can you start, kind of thing?
I pretty much started the next day.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
as a what? Team member, assistant
I
manager,
started
key
as
holder?
a team member, but what really clicked for me as Sport Clips was the assistant manager at the time was on maternity leave. So they asked me to be acting assistant manager.
Had you ever managed
No.
at any of those shops you'd been to? Okay.
No. So I got to go to a leadership. So it was my first leadership ever.
What year are we looking at here?
Say 2012,
okay.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
2012, I'm pretty sure.
Is this one of the Dave and Buster leaderships?
Yes.
Oh, really?
It was
Okay,
one of the
those are
Dave
cool.
and Buster leaderships in Irvine.
Yep, the Spectrum.
Yep. So my manager at the time invited me to go to leadership. I had no idea what was in store for me or what I was even going to. Mm-hmm. I get there, and right away, I fall in love with the culture of Sport Clips. My operationals coach at the time, Sarah Sandilovic, she's no longer with us. She's with North Carolina now.
Sarah was in California and in Texas. She's from Texas, right?
She's from Georgetown.
Yeah.
She went to school with Edward.
Oh, Sarah. My goodness.
Yeah.
I didn't know she was California, too. That's cool.
Yeah, so she was the operationals coach. She doesn't cut hair. But I fell in love with her energy and just the culture. They sat us down with other managers, and just the way that people talk to you was uplifting. And from there, I was just like,
This is
I
what
like
you
it.
wanted. Yeah. And so it probably didn't. So did you ever relinquish assistant manager? How did that? Because when she came back from maternity leave, what?
So she came back,
Yeah.
and she kept on coming back and forth, and it was funny because I was there for 2 years, and she had 2 babies in the course of me being there.
Uh-huh.
And they never really made me assistant manager, but I was acting assistant manager, and just
Everybody viewed you as
just
that.
the way that I am,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do 110% regardless of the title or not. I met Tara Crawford, who is our area coach, operational coach
Yep.
for Southern California now.
What was she then?
She was a technical coach then.
Oh, okay.
She was me.
Okay. Yeah.
So she was running the San Diego area, teaching classes in Irvine. I remember she came for a success check, and it was really slow. So she was like, "We're gonna role play the 5-point play," and I was like, "Okay, I got this. No big deal. I do it every day." So we're role playing, and the gal that I was role playing with, she wasn't, she wasn't too good on her 5-point play. So I was like, kind of giving her pointers under my breath, trying to help her out. Tara took me in the back, and she's like, "Hey, I remember you from class. You stuck out to me." She's like, "Are you looking to move up?" And I'm like, kind of joked around with her. I was like, "Well, what are the positions open?" She's like, "Well, I'm in San Diego." And I was like, "Yeah." The store that I was at, it was Sport Clips, but I knew there was something more. I knew there was something more to the company. I knew there was other things. I knew the culture was bigger. And I knew that I wasn't really experiencing it 110%. So I reached out to her, and I'm like, "Hey, I want something more." Got home that night, talked to my partner, who's now my wife, and I was like, "What about San Diego?" It was
Because you're living, where are you?
we're in Cypress, California
okay.
still.
Yeah.
And I'm telling her, like,
So this is going to take, you're going to have to completely move.
right.
to go
And
to San
I
Diego.
just
This
threw
is
it
not a
out there.
commute.
I was just joking around, literally joking around. And I'm like, "What about San Diego?" And she's like, "Okay." And I was like, "What?" She was like,
There are worse cities to live than San Diego, California. Let me tell you, that's got to be the top 5 in the country. So
I threw it out there, and she was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Well, I got a job already." And she's like, "You do?" And I was like, "Yeah, with Sport Clips." And she was still working for Sport Clips at the time as well. And I said, "I think we both got jobs out there. I'm not sure what we'll be doing, but we'll be set up." So I hit Tara up, and she's like, "Yeah, come on down." She's team leader of 2 stores now by this time. So she's team leader of CA 405 Del Mar.
who is?
Tara Crawford.
She's a team leader too?
Yes, she is.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, mine just blew all over the wall here.
Yes,
So we're going to have to clean that up later.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So and then she's also team leader of CA 402.
Okay.
So she was like, "I want to bring you into Claremont." She's like, "It's pretty similar to Cypress." And it was going to be a change for me, because you got to realize that I grew up in Cypress. So every person that walked into that Sport Clips, I literally knew, or I went to school with, or I'm now cutting their kids' hair. So it was a lot different for me. But we went for it, and we literally packed up our stuff once my son finished his 5th grade year, and we moved to San Diego.
Did he get a vote?
He did not.
No, okay. All right. And how
not.
did that conversation go? Do you remember?
It was difficult because he had gone to the same school his whole life.
Yeah, I can
but we
imagine.
wanted to make him realize that we grew up in the same area. My wife grew up in Hawaiian Gardens, California, which is not one of the best places to grow up. And we didn't want him,
Misleading name.
yeah. Very misleading name. One of the smallest cities in California, but we wanted something better for him. We wanted him to kind of grow up in a different environment than we did, because we just wanted better for him. So to explain to a 5th grader that we wanted to better his life, it was hard, but he's a good kid, so he went with it. He went with it, and we just came to San Diego.
And he's now a junior.
He's
in
a
high school?
sophomore. He just turned
Sophomore.
16 a
Okay.
couple of weeks
Football
ago.
player?
Football player,
Yeah.
yep. Football player, athlete. He's a good kid.
Yeah, about 50% of your Facebook or social media posts are your son related. So
He's my pride and joy.
I kind of keep track of
Yeah.
how things are going at home with
Yeah,
him.
he's my pride and joy.
So that's cool. So okay, you make it down. You're now at what's the store number that you're
CA
managing?
402.
So you're at CA 402. You're the manager.
I'm the assistant manager.
Assistant manager.
They bring
Okay.
me in as an
Okay,
assistant
thank you.
manager. Nobody
Okay.
knows who I am.
Mhm.
So I walk
Oh,
in
man.
there.
Yeah.
I'm getting looks.
Right.
Like, who's
right.
this person?
Who does she think she is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Took them a couple weeks to warm up to me. But after that, just treating people with kindness and just being genuine with your intentions and just, showing them that you do want them to grow and you want them to be successful as well. That's what worked for me. A lot of people always ask me, like, how'd you get to where you're at? And it was really that simple. It's just being myself and just wanting everybody to succeed.
And there's a trick to being yourself. That works when you're cool, nice, whatever.
Right.
So, yeah, you were yourself, but you had good stuff to work with in terms of, I've seen how you handle your people and your business, and that certainly has paid off. So you're at the store. You're still not a coach, right? I mean,
No.
So walk me through. You're assistant manager for how long? And
So I'm assistant manager for about a month. And we had 3 coaches. Yeah, we had 3 coaches, 3 full-time coaches, and we right then and there we were doing a lot with Help a Hero. We were working with Marinello, the school. We had an internship program where their students were coming in and playing coordinators. So a receptionist with us, for those of you that don't know what that is. And they asked me one day to come to an event, and it was a Help a Hero event. And what we were doing is we were matching up with Marinello and our company, the San Diego area, and we were giving free manicures and free haircuts to veterans. They said, Frankie, do you want to be a part of it? And I said, yeah. And I remember getting there to Carlsbad. It was the event, and my manager had asked Sarah, I don't know if Sarah remembers this, I'm just curious, is Frankie going to get paid for this? And Sarah looked at me dead in the eyes and said, do you want to be here? I said, yeah. My stepfather was in the Army. I have, several family members that are veterans and that serve in the service. Absolutely, I want to be here. Yeah. She said, well, this is voluntary. I said, right. Cool. Awesome. Yeah. What are we going to do? Let's cut some hair. So I did that event. A week later, they asked me to be a hair model for what we call an ambassador now. There was an ambassadors then. Yeah. It was just a school visit. So they said, hey, Frankie, we like your hair. Will you be a hair model? I said, yeah, cool. So we show up to the team. We wanted to show them the whole layout. So we had Ron there, our team leader. We had Sarah there. We had Tara there. We had a manager there. We had an assistant manager and team members there. We had a full team there.
So Spencer sent Ron, but he wouldn't
come.
Okay, you don't want anybody touching this.
We'll talk about that later.
All fair. Okay.
So we're doing the presentation and not knowing that they're looking for a new coach because one of the coaches were going to phase themselves out. They had a gal lined up to come and speak to the barber students. So I'm thinking I'm just there to get my hair cut. Yeah. Never talked in front of a crowd. I've never even thought about education.
Are you serious? Okay.
I never even thought about education. Didn't even know that was where I was going. Well, the girl didn't show up. And it was her turn to speak. Tara and Sarah looked at me and they were like, you're up. And I was like, what?
So wait. Come again? Record scratch.
Yeah. And keep in mind, we're in a room full of barbers, not just stylists, but barbers, my peers. So I already knew what kind of questions were going to come up. Well, you don't use a straight razor. You're being timed, this and this. So I look at Tara and I'm like, well, what do you want me to say? And she's like, tell them about your experience. I mean, you're a barber. You can relate to them. So they pushed me up there.
They threw the baby into the pool and made you swim.
Yeah, they pushed me up there, and I mean, it went by really fast. I don't really even remember. I do remember there was one guy in there that was giving me a hard time. He had his headphones in, and he was just throwing all these questions at me, and I was just, spin them back out to him. And that was it. And I was like, oh, don't ever do that to me again. You know, got through it. Didn't think anything of it. The girl ended up showing up afterwards. Yeah.
Did you get the time wrong, or
I guess so.
Or maybe it was fate. You know that.
I'm thinking that. You know, I'm thinking that. A week later, I get a message from Tara and Sarah, an email, and they're like, "We need to speak to you immediately." And I'm like, "Oh man,
busted!
What did I do?" Like, you know, I know, like I'm used to being the trouble. Like, what? I don't remember doing anything wrong. So they sat me down and they were like, "I don't know if you know this, but we're looking for a coach, and you killed it. Like you killed it. We love your energy. We love the way you handle the crowd." And we want to offer you this position. And I was like, me?
Right. You're looking around. Yeah, wait, who are you talking to?
Literally, I was like, me? Are you sure? And they were like, yeah. And that's like one of the things that I remember the most is really Sarah, like she believed in me. Like in that, you know, every time I see her, like I just give her a hug. I remember when, you know, I got announced of being on part of the artistic team, she was like really emotional. Yeah. You know, like it was kind of one of those things where you like you don't want to look at your mom because you know your mom's crying, and then you're gonna cry.
You're gonna lose it.
Yeah. So it was really emotional for us. She really, really believed in me. She really pushed me to just be out of my comfort zone. And being a barber, I wasn't really taught the way that most of our stylists were. So my expertise was like in fading and tapering, and they didn't really teach us how to use scissors. And so I'm thinking, like, you guys want me to teach people how to do these things, and I'm not even sure that I know them myself.
You're not as comfortable with it. Yeah.
But just the training program, just the way that the coaches are trained and the way that we're trained technically, I would say it's brought me on a whole nother level in my career. And that's just sport clips. Has nothing to do with any other education that I've gotten. It's literally sport clips. Obviously, my wife is a cosmetologist, so she had a big influence as well in me, showing me the ropes as well. But it was really like, I remember my first month of coaching, they literally sat me down with the doll head and I was just sectioning it and parting it, sectioning it and parting it, holding my shears, trying to build up my dexterity. So I didn't really jump on the floor for a while. So it took me some time to kind of get used to the fact that I was going to be teaching people. Yeah. But once I got comfortable with it, it was like, man, not only am I barbering, but now I'm teaching. Like, now I'm like on cloud 9. Like, I can't even explain to you the feeling that I got from that. It was just like, I felt like, and I don't want to get religious, but I felt like God showed me my path. Like, even though it was later in my life, and I always talk to my mom about it, like, I was like, apologize, like, man, Mom, I wish that I would have pushed myself to do this earlier. And she's like, no, like, everything happens for a reason. Maybe you weren't mature enough to handle all this at that time. So it's kind of how I got to where I'm at now.
No, that's the crazy thing. What a journey. It wasn't a straight line.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't at all.
A lot of circles and loops and jagged edges and dips, and so now you've been a coach then for how long?
Actually, October 1st is my 4-year anniversary of being a coach. Yeah.
And within 3 years, you were named to the artistic team. Had that been the first time you had applied?
Tara was pushing me to apply and apply. I didn't feel like I fit the team or like the image that they were looking for at that point. It was just my perception. I didn't really know much about them. I had just seen them at the coaches huddle. I had just seen them when they would perform. I thought they were awesome. Obviously, you know, people that I looked up to, you know. And first year, Tara pushed me. I was like, no. Second year came along. They asked for applications. I still said no. Well, they opened up the applications only to California. Like, we got a message straight to Ron saying that we're looking for California coaches. Wow. Tara looked at me and she's like,
this has got to be.
They're trying to get you. And I'm like, man, no. So Julie Vargas, my lovely Julie Vargas.
Whom you passed up when you went
yes,
to go
I'm
get,
sorry, Julie.
Okay,
but we've had many hugs
yeah,
in
since then.
between there.
Mm-hmm.
She reached out to me and Tara, and she's like, hey, we have this video shoot going on in Westlake, California. We're using Ron's store, and we want you guys to be a part of it. And I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, it's a whole video shoot. We're going to do haircuts, kind of a commercial, infomercial. We want you guys to be in it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right, cool. So we get there.
Yeah, isn't Tara in that one?
Tara's in that one as well. Delisa Foreman is up in there too. So I do my haircuts, and it's funny because my last one I cut myself. I'm so nervous I cut myself, and I'm like, dude, really? really? Like, out of all times, I'm going to cut myself. But the videos ended up really good.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think that was Julie's kind of my tryout for her. Mm-hmm. I don't know. She maybe tell me different. Come to find out, they had already been kind of looking at me because of my social media posts. I started doing live posts. I started doing live posts of my classes, tutorials, stuff like that. But
getting yourself out there.
Trying to get myself out there, exactly. Not just myself, but my market. I mean, we're so full of so many talented stylists, and we do so many cool things that I was like, man, people need to know about this. So I just started getting out there on social media. So then finally, I got the goals, and I just applied. And I said, I remember talking to my wife, and I remember talking to my mom, and I just said, man, if, my mom always taught me something, that if something's for you, it's already for you. It's already written in the sky for you. Like, your story's already written. You just
got to step into it.
Yeah, it's already written for you. So my mom and my wife, they were like, if it's for you, it's going to happen. And if it's not the end of the world. At least you tried. And,
it's like when one door is closed, another one opens kind of philosophy. You just got to keep jiggling the handles and see which one opens up for you. So this must have been your first huddle performing in front of, now you're in front of all your Sport Clips peeps, right? So walk me through, and then I'll get to my 10 questions. I'll wrap it up for you, but walk me through that.
It was actually,
you guys rocked it.
It was actually probably one of the most, I was the most nervous out of any time.
Because it was Sport Clips related, and those were the eyeballs on you?
Those were my people, and Caper, there was almost 4,000 people in the audience when we performed. So the performance that we did, we had already performed at Caper. We just changed it up a little bit because the stage was different. But I was so excited to show not only Southern California, but to show all of Sport Clips around the nation what we do and how passionate we are to educate them. And it was, we talked about it off, off tape or off the recording, and it's almost like a euphoria that you get from performing, like a natural high. And I remember they were showing our videos before we got up there, like, hey, I'm Frankie. They were showing our videos, and I remember when my video came up, they were making fun of me because everybody went wild, and that really pumped me up, And afterwards, I made sure that I went not behind the stage, that I went outside, because California finally got to be up in the front. So I made sure that I went, and I gave props and daps to all my people, and they were just so excited for me, and it was just, they're just so supportive, and I'm just so grateful for them. I really, really am.
Well, obviously, California loves you. You're a homegrown talent and a rock star, and all the Sport Clips loves you, which is why you got that great ovation. What we did talk about off air is how exciting it is to get in front of a crowd.
Right.
And people are often wondering, are you nervous or whatever? Like, no, I'm ready for this. I want to celebrate being up there with everybody and in front of everybody, and I want to return the energy they're giving us. We hope to return to them, and you guys do it as an artistic team every single time.
Thank you.
Hats off, kudos there. All right, let me do this, because you got a long drive ahead of you. You got to get back. But I want to get through the 10 questions that I can't ask a follow-up to. So even if they're a bad answer, I gotta let you live with it.
Okay.
All right. Number one, which superpower would you most like to have?
You know what? I knew you were going to ask this because I listened to all your podcasts.
Uh-huh.
So I was thinking about it on my way here, and I was trying to figure out how to word it. And I was like, basically a superpower to like create peace among people.
Like a magic wand.
Like a magic wand. Like if you see somebody beefing or like just anywhere, like be able to just instantly create peace.
Okay, I'm gonna hashtag peace wand. That's what we're gonna call that. I like it. That's awesome. What is your personal motto?
My personal motto. Just be who you are and own it.
Yeah, and you talked about that earlier. Be genuine.
Yeah.
So that's something you're obviously living by. Number 3, other than where you live now, which we already said is one of the top 5 places ever. Where else in the world would you most like to live?
I would probably say somewhere and go back to my culture, somewhere in Mexico, on the beach.
Okay, Cancun or Cabo?
No, more from where my wife from. She's from León, Guanajuato,
Okay.
and it's one of the last colonial cities in the world. So yeah, I would want to live in León or Guanajuato.
Who is a celebrity you would most like to meet one day?
A celebrity that I would most like to meet one day. Oh, that's a hard one. I don't know. I would say... Well, he's a celebrity in my eyes, but he's an athlete, and I would say
that counts.
Aaron Rodgers, the greatest quarterback
all right. So Green
of
Bay.
all
All
time.
right. Okay, that's definitely a celebrity. I mean, yeah, a future Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
All right, shout out Aaron Rodgers. We'll get him on the podcast soon. Which words?
He lives in San Diego, by the way.
What?
Yeah, he has.
Because he went to Cal, right?
Yeah.
So he's from California. Which words or phrases do you most overuse?
I say a lot. That's my filler
Well,
word.
you'll see that when you come back and read the transcript
Oh,
of this.
that's why we talked about the voice thing. And I would say sweet or cool.
Okay.
Or dude. Those are my overused phrases.
So you have a couple. What sound or noise do you love?
Clippers.
Oh, nice.
Clipper over comb.
Yeah.
The clipper
Okay,
hitting the.
all right.
Yep.
What sound or noise do you hate?
The door slamming. The door slamming.
That gets you.
Yes.
All right. What profession, other than your own, and you tried a few, would you have been good at or at least have wanted to try?
I did a lot of performing, not in front of a lot of people, but in high school, I did a lot of, I was part of a show choir, and then I was also a cheerleader up until 8th grade.
What?
So, yeah.
I got to see those Throwback Thursday pictures.
I think those are hidden away somewhere.
Oh, man, no way. I'm going to go find those.
Some type of performing of some type.
Okay. What do you consider your greatest achievement?
Raising a very, 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 very talented, smart young man.
I love it. And if heaven indeed exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Welcome, Frankie. You did all that you could, and you belong here.
I love that answer, and love you. Love all your energy and your passion for Sport Clips and your job and your people. Thank you so much, Frankie, and looking forward to all the great things that are going to be coming from you.
Thanks, Chad. I enjoyed it.
All right.